Here's the thing.
Hey, what's going on?
Here's the thing.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Daddy needs to get his rocks off.
Here's the thing.
Here's the fucking thing.
Look, here's the thing.
Hey.
It's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. It's clobbering time.
Any of you incels, QAnon, 4chan, Snyder Cut motherfuckers want to get on the line now? Anybody?
I vaguely know who actual fandom is. I think I might actually been on it. No.
You should hit like if you're watching.
I used to keep my comics in the plastic. Fresh copy, whiteboard, and bag it. The only novels we read was graphic. Dressed like a nerd and I acted anxious. Got my first comic book and was fascinated. And just like that, your whole world changes. I saw my whole life right between the pages. DC and Marvel had the insane shit. Bruce Lee, Bruce Banner, Bruce Wayne, kid. Getting in the game, well, you need some practice. If you want to get your comic book stack the fattest, hit the shop on the Wednesday, check the new rack. Flip through the front, grab yours from the back. A bag and the board added to your stack. I used to keep my comics in the plastic. Fresh copy, whiteboard, and bag it. Chillin' in the hood, barbershop, and it's low-key. Tony Stark got the fresh cut with the goatee. OG. Asked him when we getting up to smoke weed. He told me Avengers got him stressed out with no sleep. Roll deep, drink a cold tea, stress shake it off. Told me I should hit Happy Hogan, we can play golf. Trade thoughts, convos with vision, talk elegant. About human beings and artificial intelligence. Told me that learning about humanity was medicine. What makes a hero and the villain with the devil in? Getting it. To Avengers Tower is a miracle. But I'm really trying to get a date with Black Widow though. Tight room. I hope Natasha looking for the right dude. Ride smooth, plus she look good in that tight suit. Butterfly. Fine wine dinner with a tux and tie. But am I about to have sex with a Russian spy? Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, I'm seeing cops right now. Walk by, I told Hawkeye he was a smart guy. Aim the arrows at your enemies, let them all fly. Clint Barton told me that and it was understated. He's the one Avenger in the picture, underrated. He's the first to action, you can either love or hate it, but he's gonna strike the opposition, leave him on the pavement. James Rhodes hit me up, oh damn it, we was getting up. Show me how he had the chrome cannon with the minigun. War Machine was an old Marine and a Lucky Charm. Later on, supposed to get a poker game with Bucky Barnes. Winter Soldier won the hand, winning, spilling over. Tony's non-divided, really trying to get him sober. Grabbed my Avenger jacket, it was getting colder. Thor bursted through the windowsill, chilling in his loafers. Thor is mad drunk and he asking where the party went. Now I'm taking tall shots with the Nazguardian. Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, I'm seeing cops right now. I notice most people never try to put a grudge to rest. What can make the mad titan Thanos fall in love with death? Of the rest, he sits alone on a simple vintage throne, looking at a gauntlet missing 6 infinity stones. It's simply known the stones ain't meant to be owned. He wants it so bad, hurts like a kidney stone. Yeah, I'm mad nervous cause Bruce Banner approached me. Low-key don't wanna get smashed like Loki. Hope please, we like to smoke the tree to the root until it starts to speak to me like I am Groot. Get baked, holla at Gamora for a big date. Trying to get a track on Star Warlord's next mixtape. Shit's great on a mountain range. Levitate, meditate with the Doctor Strange. Stop the hate, I have all the answers. I look like T'Challa, yes, I'm the Black Panther. Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, the streets is hot right now. Assemble the squad, I'm seeing cops right now.
The other one, No Organized Chaos. Actual fandom.
You should delete your channel. The female version of Dick Grayson is Pussy Grey Daughter.
He's not alive, but he's right.
But really, if you want to do the, any kind of like karmic justice back in the fucking world for the damage that you're causing with this kind of shit, you should just delete your fucking channel. Okay? Drink it in. Yeah. Absorb it. Let it wash over you. Look, here's the thing.
It's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. It's clobbering time.
Fandom.
Hey, motherfuckers.
The journey that we choose as fans. Everything's just not always going to be great. And when it's great, you got to celebrate the hell out of it. But when it's not, you just move on to some other shit. It's like the easiest thing in the world.
Hello, and welcome to the madness. Man, I'm gonna get this green screen thing down, like virtual green screen. Hey, how's everybody doing? Happy Friday. This is Actual Fandom. I hope you had a good week. I hope Screwface Capone, you got that Atlanta heat going on, man. I'm from Houston, so I kind of know it's a similar situation. Don't fuck around with that, man. That's not good. Yeah, so you might have heard, those of you who watch on a regular basis probably recognize, or maybe you don't recognize, the guy that says something right there at the end of the intro. Well, that's who this guy is. His name is AJ Ampadu, and he's been on before. It's been a couple of years, like whenever he was launching his EarthTone King imprint, and he had 3 very different but very good comic books that he launched at the same time. Man, my head's disappearing. It sucks. Whoa. We got a professional fucking setup here, but yeah, he's back with us. He wants to talk about something else, but also kind of the same thing, and I'm excited about it. Let's bring him up. Hey, man. You there? I think you're muted, but well, let's go ahead and oh, there he is. Sorry about that, man. My whole thing is just falling apart right at the last minute. Yeah, you're still muted.
Sorry, at the last minute, I decided to switch headphones because I realized
my shit was going wrong. It's all right, man. It's how
this headpiece is
we
way
get paid
better.
the big bucks around here. How you been, man?
AF, I need you to. Why am I not using you to do all of my graphics and audio?
Because, I mean, I'd be happy to. Honestly, you can ask my friends that I work with, dude, on a regular basis. I just do shit just whenever I'm bored. I used to do drugs and shit. Now I just make graphics.
Like, why am I like trying to hire people on Fiverr and stuff to do videos? And
I mean, honestly, look, I'm a fan, dude. Like, I'm a legit fan. So
Thank you for all of that. That's crazy. I didn't know that you had the clips in there. I didn't know that you had everything, and even the way you put the logo in there. That's really impressive. Thank you for that. I
mean, I kind of threw it together today, like last minute and stuff. But
yeah,
I legit have that little bit of you. The thing you said last time you were on about fandom and the journey we take as fans. It's not everything's not always going to be great. That really resonated with me, and it kind of is like the theme of my channel in a way. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's perfect right here at the intro for my streams. So
I think that's one of the reasons why maybe I discovered you was just because that theme also resonated with me, where I just want to talk about comics. Is it okay, world, if we just talk about comics and how cool they are and just keep it like that? Is that okay, universe?
I mean, this is what we do on Fridays during the daytime stream. Typically, anyways, we just we leave the other business alone. Because we got to represent our appreciation of things and not just occupy ourselves with people that don't appreciate things. But so
absolutely.
Been writing any good comics lately, man?
One or two. So yeah, when last we spoke, I had just begun my journey as an independent comic book creator with my own self-publishing imprint, EarthTone Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And that was just a huge leap of faith, just coming from a place where I've always wanted to make comics and was always never told that was an okay thing to do. Never thought. I'm going to turn my camera a little bit because I see this huge glare behind me and it's annoying the heck out of me.
I'm wishing my green screen wasn't messing
sunlight. Up. Sunlight is like, I look like I'm in heaven and I'm ascending into the. All right. So, I don't think I fixed it. Anyway, just coming from a place where I always wanted to make comics and like just never being told that was something that I should do or that it was okay to do or it was something that I could be successful doing. So I don't even want to say that I didn't have the courage. It wasn't even a courage thing. It was just it just wasn't a reality. I don't know how else to
it didn't seem like it was like that was just somebody else's role almost. It probably felt right?
Exactly. Like, I just always remember being a kid and watching Saturday morning cartoons and never thinking that there were people who actually made them. Like, I just kind of just think that they just appear, but like there's actually people animating them and writing them and producers and all that type of stuff. So as you get older, knowing that there's jobs in that world and you can actually be a creative for a living, that's insane. So once again, it just came from a lack of direction and just a lack of like I said, not really courage, but more so just foresight, if you will. So just starting EarthTone and Kingdom was tough because it's one thing to be a comic book creator. There's a lot to learn how to be a good comic book creator, but being a business person is a whole different monster, and trying to learn both of them simultaneously is very challenging. And within the comic book industry, there's not a lot of information, I would say, at the intermediate level. So there's a lot of like beginners, how-to stuff out there when you start doing your Google searching, but taking it to the next level, like learning how to distribute and learning how to print and all these other things, there's not a ton of information. So really, it's just been like a process of me learning on the fly, doing research about stuff and just meeting people and just trying to absorb as much information as I possibly could about how to run a comic book company. And also how to do it my own way, how to do it in a way that serves my lifestyle. Because I see a lot of other people who are doing their thing in comic books and they have different agendas than I do. And when I say agendas, I mean business agendas. Sure. They have different business goals, I should say, than I do. So I don't really, I learn from other people, but I also don't try to adhere to what I see other people doing because they're trying to do something different than I'm trying to do. So ultimately, that's just what I was doing for the last couple of years. And, Lisa Hawkins from Valiant reached out to me, and I had a relationship with her because I had been pitching myself to write for Valiant Comics for quite some time, way back in the even previous era. Some people will know that there's a guy named Dinesh who used to be head of the company, and way back then I was, you know, I met him and the whole Valiant staff, and I'd been pitching myself, but I was just a young writer with no credentials, and it's just really hard to get, you know, somebody might look your way, but there's so many people who are just trying to throw scripts at people and things like that. I didn't have an agent.
It's a
I didn't
risk
have
for them, right? They're taking a risk on, you know, so, but you proved yourself now, man. That's what I was wondering, is like, did they just kind of like, you know, take notice of you, but you already had a bit of a relationship. So that's cool.
I think it goes back. I think I said the same story on the last time we were on your show. So I guess I could reiterate, but it's the story of always showing up. The actress who plays Susie, was it on Curb Your Enthusiasm? I think that the character always screams at Larry and curses him out all the time. That actress met Larry David at a comedy club at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. And she just thought there was like nobody in the crowd. And she just, you know, but she still performed well. And turns out it was Larry David, and it changed her life. Right. So it's just the idea of always showing up. I don't know when Valiant paid attention to me and discovered what I was doing, but it was mainly because I was just being consistent doing whatever I was doing. And at some point they were like, all right, that guy who we've seen a couple times actually is doing something. And then when they said pitch me, whenever you hear that from somebody, that's it's like they're opening the door just a little bit. Like, all right, you got 60 seconds of my attention. It's kind of like the whole thing. I gave her
an elevator pitch kind of thing, right?
Right. So she, you know, I took a week. She, you know, there was a character, a Valiant comic book character that she wanted to bring out, and I was familiar with the character. She's like, pitch me a story for this character, and I wrote for the next week. I just read everything from the character. I wrote the best pitch I possibly could. It was like a 2-page pitch. I had a logo already, like I designed a logo for it and everything. So, you know, I remember designing a logo from Stranger Things guys when they went to Netflix and they pitched Stranger Things. They had already had the logo designed for Stranger Things, and we all know that logo is iconic, right? So it always pitches in my mind, like if you're going to pitch a story, if you can bring the logo at least with you, it at least begins the visual aid for the person you're pitching to, because there's a lot in a logo. Like when you look at the Stranger Things logo, it elicits the story and the setting and everything already, right? So this particular, I don't want to spoil what it was because they might still do the storyline, but there was something particular. There's something particular about the logo that was very unique, and it allowed. It was a great pitch. I really think it was an awesome pitch. So she remembered that, and unfortunately, we were not able to make that book. And one of the reasons was because they still didn't know who I was at the time as a writer. And then also Valiant went through a lot of changes at the time.
I've been reading up on the last couple of days, man. It's a hell of a story. Like I'm kind of like invested in it now. Like
somebody needs to write a documentary on the Valiant comic book universe about all the different companies that have owned it and how it's moved through and the ups and downs. It is a real story, and once again, it's like the coolest, most interesting like superhero universe. And unfortunately, you know, it's had corporate struggles in keeping it going. But anyway,
the Alien books is kind of like got the right focus though, right?
I'm very confident right now in what Alien's doing. They you know, Alien is a company that, you know, for the most part, they were already working with companies like Valiant and Marvel and DC. I believe they were translating their comics into Spanish and distributing them in Spanish speaking countries and things like that. So they already had a working relationship with a lot of these American comic book companies. So they were kind of like a perfect company to kind of take the license for Valiant Comics. And also I think it's interesting because Mateus, the guy who's the head of the company, he's a real comic book guy, and he really is into the art, into the printing. You know, I haven't really interacted with him too much, but just based on the prints, the trade dresses of the comics, the Valiant Alien books that have come out are really, really impressive. And I love that he pays attention to the detail. of how even the comics are printed, because that's makes me believe that he really cares about the product and really wants to make the best comics possible. So it's really inspirational to me to work with a team that, from soup to nuts, is trying to make the best comics that we can. And I think that's kind of like one of the big things that I want people to understand. Like, there's a lot of comics being made, and especially in the mainstream, and I know people are a bit fatigued with the big two for one reason or another, but subjective reasons aside, I think there is an objective kind of like lack of like overall, not just quality, but kind of heart. Like, the comic books that were written back in the 70s and 80s during the golden era of comics were written with like heart. Like, you can know those creators.
What my experience has been, man, because like, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm, pretty big DC fan as well. So like, I'm not going to throw them under the bus or anything, just say that they suck now, because I don't believe that. But like,
right.
Reading Valiant stuff, it feels like it matters. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's not, if a character's risking his life to do something heroic or whatever, like, you kind of feel like, and it does happen sometimes, where they're not gonna make it, and like they're not going to necessarily be just revived the next issue or some shit. Like, they had Ms. Marvel last year, it was like she died in a Spider-Man comic, and they had already announced when she was coming back and shit like that, and it's like, come on, man, this corporate way of doing things kind of kills a lot of the fun sometimes.
It does.
And Valiant just seems like they really want to make sure that you are into the story and the characterizations first and foremost. They're not worried about trying to get you to buy the next book necessarily, unless it's just based on did you fucking enjoy this book? You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. So
yeah, no, everything you said is true. There's a care. Valiant is a smaller universe, so the benefit of that is that we can kind of be more hands-on with everything that goes on within it, right? So especially right now during the Valiant Resurgence, which is the current storyline that we're in, all of these stories are tangentially connected in a really satisfying way, which I think is unique, because for me, Marvel and DC, I love Marvel and DC. I love those comics and I love those characters, but it's challenging sometimes to read all of the comics and buy all of the tie-ins, and it just gets really expensive sometimes to get all of the stories. So I like that, you can read all the Valiant comics, and you only have to buy a few books a month, and you pretty much get the entire story. So I think that's really cool and unique. But I mean, obviously plans are for things to expand and get bigger and larger, of course, but just the size of the universe I find very inviting for new readers, because you can kind of hop in and you're not going to be bogged down with like too much continuity. Like, if you just pick one character, if you pick just like Shadowman or Bloodshot, there's not 5 decades of continuity.
What's likely to happen if you just pick the one character and start reading, though, is that you're going to read through pretty much whatever the more recent stuff is. This is what happened with me. I said, well, I know who Bloodshot is. This is like a couple of years ago. A friend turned me on to Valiant, and I'd always just seen them as like not that I thought they were not good or something. It was just like those books for somebody else. You know what I mean? Not for me. And I started reading Bloodshot, and next thing I know, I read another trade of Bloodshot, read another one, and the next thing I'm like, what's going on with Eternal Warrior and Exo Man of War? You know what I mean? Like, and there's a consistency of like, I don't think I've seen a Valiant book, at least of the modern era, that of course I haven't read any really from the 90s, but I don't think I've seen one that just looked bad. You know what I mean? Like, the art not being at least pretty damn good. Yeah, and I definitely see some of that coming from the other guys sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, it's quality control. I think there's a good hold on I think the creators at Valiant have a good hold on the characters. I think when you're in a larger universe, it's just a little bit more challenging to write the story that you want to write without getting caught up in too much of everything else that's going on. I feel like at least my experience thus far at Valiant, I feel like I was able to tell a story that I wanted to tell, and I was given freedom to kind of do that. So that felt good, and I was also given an art team that came up with some beautiful art. So that was also very it made me feel great as a creator as well. So yeah, I kind of like walked you through my story about how I got to Valiant. And you know,
I want to address this comment here real quick because
sure.
So your links are, by the way, for anybody looking for where to find your stuff, you can go to earthtoneking.com. That's linked in the description, as well as your Kickstarter for KIMI
Oh,
Cosmic.
okay. I was about to say you got the Kickstarter. Good. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we plugged that, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But would you want to say there's a question or something?
Oh, I just wanted to respond to this guy that was asking where to find your stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. EarthTone King, you can find my books, but I really want to talk about the Kickstarter that I have going on right now. But I don't know if we should segue into that yet, or we want to talk about Valiant stuff.
Up to you, man. You know, you said you have certain
okay. We're on Valiant. No, we got some time. Look, we're on Valiant. Let's stay there, and then we'll get to my own stuff. So yeah, so you know, for people who are watching, and you know, the Valiant universe, I think, is a really great superhero universe. A lot of people who describe it to me, they say that it feels very lived in, like you know, the world outside your door. I definitely think that it's got a little bit of everything. It's got sci-fi, it's got horror, it's got you know, fantasy a little bit, it's got action, espionage. There's a little, you know, all the different genres. There's a character that kind of represents that subgenre, and it's all
doesn't
blended.
do anything too much, is what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like they definitely have some magic. They have some you know, like dark magic stuff going on. They got sci-fi, but like they don't ever take it to just like super absurd degrees or anything that I've seen anyway. You know, which can happen with but like, and I'm not saying that's a bad way to tell stories either, but I'm just like, it's refreshing to kind of feel like there's like some limits on you know, on what's going on, and that things are gonna keep, you know, at least 1 foot on the ground while they're doing some wacky stuff this way. Like I've been reading Shadowman last couple of days, and I'd never really read any Shadowman, and it's fucking cool. It's really
he's really cool. So yeah, okay. So let's cue this up. Let me talk about NINJAK vs ROKU real quick. Then I'm going to talk about Shadowman, and then we're going to talk about like the future. All right. And then we're going to circle back to my personal stuff. But before we even talk about that, I just want to say that right now, you keep seeing that word resurgence that's on top of everything that Valiant's putting out. And I kind of just want to explain what that is real quick. So there is a storyline called the Resurgence storyline that is starting, I think, next month. And all the books that have come out over the past few months, since pretty much February, have been the road to Resurgence. So even though they've been isolated stories, the isolated characters, they've all kind of been part of this puzzle, this road that's leading up to this storyline called Resurgence. So one of those books that is leading up to the Resurgence is the book in my first Valiant book, NINJAK vs ROKU, and that's a comic that's out right now. And I could talk about that real quick. If you guys don't know, NINJAK, he's like Valiant's. I don't always like comparing him to other characters, but just to make it easy, he's kind of like Valiant's Batman. He's very much like Batman meets 007. He's one of my favorite Valiant characters. He's super, super cool. Roku is more or less his former lover, who he accidentally got killed on a botched mission gone wrong, and a supernatural sorcerer named Master Dark resurrected her, so she's like an undead assassin. So these two characters have a complicated history, and amidst that complicated history, in this comic book series, they get the same mission. NINJAK and Roku get the same mission, and the pitch is, will they kill each other, or will they clear the mission first? So NINJAK vs ROKU is a 4-issue miniseries. Right now we are on issue 3. Issue 3 just came out on Wednesday, so we are on issue 3 of 4. And yeah, I think it's a really cool series. I kind of refer to it as an opera of violence, because it's equally emotional as it is violent. There's a lot of action, and you know, it's one of those storylines that you can read. You can just jump right in and read it. Like pretty much everything I've said is like reiterated at the beginning of the story. But if you happen to have read older NINJAK and ROKU comics, there's a lot of you know, Easter eggs and plot lines that kind of come to fruition in this storyline. So I had a bang up time writing this, and I think people so far, the reviews have been really good. So I'm happy. I'm really happy this.
So I wanted to kind of dig into like you know, because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be an old school Valiant fan, but I know there's plenty of them. So I kind of went looking around to see what people are saying about this, and I didn't find a negative word. I found nothing but positive. Just people saying that, you know, you managed to touch on the history of the characters, canonical history, without making it too, too entrenched where you have to have read all that stuff or whatever before, and you can just, like I said, you can just jump right in. And yeah, it just seemed like everybody's a buzz of it. I don't know if we should talk about the apparently some controversial decision you made at the in issue number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple controversial decisions I made in issue 2, and I don't know. I don't really want to spoil it, so I don't really want to get too deep.
We won't do that.
It.
But yeah, I was like, oh. Yeah.
But ultimately, I'll just say that I like to surprise people, and I like to take chances with characters, and sometimes you get mixed results with that. So if you follow my writing, you'll know that I like to swing. I like to swing for the fences, and sometimes I think I mostly win when I think my batting average is pretty high, but you're always going to miss a couple sometimes. But you absolutely do. I'm always trying to bend the characters as much as I can without breaking them, because I always feel like you have to return your toys back to the way you found them. Oftentimes a lot of writers, they do crazy stuff with characters like, oh, we're going to change Peter Parker's origin and we're going to do this, and all of a sudden, and then like, you wrote like 5 issues, and now the next writer has to follow that up and somehow like, either retcon it or follow up your idea. So I always try to reset my characters back to the way they are, even though as I'm saying that, I realize there are some interesting changes at the end of the series, but ultimately
you want to leave a mark on them, but you don't want to leave them broken, right? Like
perfect. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Yes. So yeah, NINJAK vs ROKU is full of surprises. It's action packed. It's emotional. It's a lot of fun. The artwork is brilliant. We had 2 different artists to work on them. No, it's awesome, and it's also Roku has she's an undead warrior, so she has control over every cell of her body, including her hair.
Okay.
So her hair is a weapon, and it's interesting how the artist used the hair in this cover. This is one of my favorite covers, actually. So yeah, check out NINJAK vs ROKU, my Valiant debut and my mainstream comic debut, and so far it's been a great ride. I've gotten almost nothing but overwhelmingly positive reviews from it. So for me, it's just been a dream come true. But as a result of NINJAK vs ROKU, I got to do Shadowman, and now I am writing Shadowman, and that is that's even a bigger deal, because Shadowman is a character who, once again, I'm a huge fan of. Pull up Shadowman #1, but then the first one, Valiant Era 1 Shadowman #1. I think it's from 93 or something like that. I think Layton, who wrote it. I just want to show the fans real quick. I remember seeing this comic book back in 5 or 96 or whatever when I saw it, and I couldn't believe how insane this cover was. And this cover is such a freaky cover, and it's also the type of cover that you wouldn't see today. Let me see. I could find it real quick.
Okay.
#1. Hold on.
There's #0.
I got it. I think. Hold on.
Sorry, I didn't want to. If I share this screen, I'm gonna have to readjust a bunch of stuff.
Okay. No, I found it.
Okay.
Open image in the tab. Yeah, I found it. Well, you want me to just link it in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the cover to Shadowman #1 from 1990. From 1992. Created by Jim Shooter, the Jim Shooter, Steve Englehart, and David Lapham. So that cover is crazy. Like, that is like a cover that you would not see. It's horror. It's pulp. It's outlaw. It's like an outlaw cover. Like you couldn't produce a comic book cover like that today for multiple reasons. And I mean, listen, it is a little bit much. I'm not gonna lie, but that's kind of like why it stands out. And Shadowman's not even the central figure on this cover. He's like the he's in the shadows as he should be. So the reason I bring this up is that I've been so into the Shadowman character since then, going back to the 90s, when I first saw this first cover. And he's such a cool character because he is a supernatural character in the Valiant universe. He is almost a sentry. I call him the sentry in the shade because he has to protect our world from the Deadside. The Deadside is a supernatural realm where all types of dark creatures and dark entities exist. Yeah, there we go. That's the cover. So
that is wild, man. That's his number one cover.
That's like who would like how is that your number one? The cover for your number one? Like that's crazy, right?
That would not approve of that these days.
Definitely not approve of it. And like I even have like even my modern day sensibilities are like, yeah, I wouldn't produce a comic book cover like that. However, it's effective in the pulp horror vision that they were going for.
It definitely reminds of like the Wortham Comics Code era of horror kind of thing, right? Like
absolutely. So yeah, like it's definitely this covers metal, man.
It really,
but yeah. So the Shadowman character has always been a cool supernatural horror character, and he's also a black man, and that is something that's interesting too for me because I believe there was a black creator who used to work with Valiant back in the 90s, and I believe he did some Shadowman. And I don't want to I want to acknowledge him, but I am definitely the first modern black writer to write Shadowman, which is awesome, just to be able to do that. And his connection to New Orleans, his connection to voodoo lore and hoodoo and witchcraft and things like that is super interesting to me. So I did some research. I had to definitely read a couple books on that just to make sure I was at least somewhat educated on it. And it's just been so great writing Shadowman because for me, I'm a huge fan of like dark fantasy and horror comic books like Sandman and a lot of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, like that type of stuff. Like the supernatural reimagining of like superheroes has always been super fascinating to me. And just like these like metatextual breakdowns of like what it means to be a hero when faced with like just these dark forces and whatnot, what have you. So I totally had fun creating the Shadowman storyline that we're working on. And Shadowman Soul Eaters. It is a 4-issue storyline where Shadowman is facing off against a villain named the Magpie. And if you've read some of the Shadowman stuff, you said you're reading Shadowman right now. There's a storyline called Rapture, which is a Shadowman and NINJAK storyline by Matt Kent.
I'm reading the Cullen Bunn right now where
okay, so that's actually really good too. Yes
Earth or whatever.
Right all right. So the Cullen Bunn stuff was like the storyline that happened right before this, and a lot of people have been asking, am I going to continue the Cullen Bunn stuff? And the answer is yes. So if you've read the last 2 story arcs of Shadowman, which is the Book of Shadows and the Deadside War, those are the Cullen Bunn storylines. Those storylines are going to lead right into this Shadowman storyline. However, if you haven't read those, it's okay, because once again, we kind of are recapping things. There's always going to be an opening page at the beginning that's going to kind of recap the story and kind of reintroduce the characters. So don't feel like you have to go back and do a bunch of homework. However, if you are,
I mean, I know it's not the same run, but like, I mean, as long as they're doing it the similar way, like I'm getting right into these stories with the characters I'd never read anything about before. And within a few pages, I'm like, I got it. You know what I mean? Like I'm still learning stuff as I go, but like you got what you need to get going. Do you mind if I rattle off a list of names of people that have worked on Shadowman before, man? Because like you're kind of walking in the footsteps of giants, right? Like,
don't make me don't intimidate me. But yeah, let me hear the names.
Frank Miller, Garth Ennis, Rob Liefeld, Barry Windsor Smith, Jamie Delano, Steve Ditko, David Lapham, Rags Morales, Fabian Niciesas, Jim Starlin, Walt Simonson.
Yeah, those are industry giants. Those are legends. So yes, I am very much an insect in their shadows, but I am
I think you're gonna
absolutely blessed to be able to even get a shot. It's kind of crazy because when we announced the whole NINJAK stuff, there wasn't a lot of like buzz. Like NINJAK versus Roku was kind of creating its own buzz, where people are reading it and they're really enjoying it, and like they're telling other people to read it. But Shadowman seems to be preloaded with a lot of hype. I think because there hasn't been a Shadowman story in a while. There's also a Shadowman video game coming out soon. And there's a bunch of people who are like fans of the Shadowman video game who don't even read the comic. So I feel like there's some excitement spilling over from that. And then also just Valiant and Alien doing the resurgence and people seeing that it's being done properly. It's kind of like a perfect storm of hype where people are like really excited about Shadowman. So
a couple of covers that I'm seeing so far are beautiful, fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, once again, the art studio that Alien Books has been able to provide. They got a lot of amazing artists, and I actually have the pages back from this first issue, and I was like, whoa, this is really cool looking. So I'm happy with how it came out.
Awesome.
But Shadowman is not the only comic that I have coming out in October. So there's also Tales of the Deadside. So see if you can pull up Tales from the Deadside. So
they're just giving you the Deadside to play with right now, huh?
Yeah, I'm all up in the Deadside. Not only am I
in October, Halloween month as well. Man, that's pretty cool.
Right, and this is all intentional. So there's also Universal Monster alternate covers of these two as well. So there's a really cool cover with Shadowman and Dr. Mirage looking like the Bride of Frankenstein, and we can pull those up too as well. But there's some alternate covers. It's all Halloween themed, bunch of scary, cool, spooky stuff we're doing. But as you're trying to find Tales from the Deadside, Tales from the Deadside is a special. You can call it a Halloween special, but it's a Shadowman. Kind of almost think of it as a Shadowman annual. I kind of like to think of it as that. It's going to come out in October as well, and I would say it's very important. It's kind of like a side story. So the idea was that we wanted to do kind of like a Tales from the Crypt, kind of like Twilight Zone kind of thing, where we tell several different stories, but all the stories are tied into the Deadside. And once again, the Deadside is a supernatural realm that runs parallel to our world, where evil creatures and monsters and things exist that sometimes cross over into our world, or sometimes people from our world cross over into the Deadside. So
Shadowman is kind of the doorman with that situation,
right?
Like,
absolutely right. Who's supposed to keep the creatures from coming, keep the boogeyman out, right?
I was surprised at some of the gore, man. Like there's some pretty, I love that shit. So
okay. If you're surprised at the gore, then you getting all the gore. Because
well, I've read Dragonface, so I know what you guys. Right. I know how you do sometimes. So.
But like I said, NINJAK vs ROKU is like an opera of violence. I mean, people who got to the end of issue 2, there's a very big violent thing that happens where there's literally at least 2 pages of blood-soaked pages. So I have no problem. I just told you what my inspiration was: cover Shadowman #1. So I'm not afraid to go gory. But when I try to use violence and gore as storytelling tools, right? So it can't just be violence and gore for no reason. There has to be some significant emotional or story reason for the violence and the gore to be occurring, and it has to push the story forward, or else it's just wasted action, right? So Tales from the Deadside, we mentioned the Deadside. We also have Shadowman. We also have Punk Mambo and Dr. Mirage. Punk Mambo and Dr. Mirage are 2 other characters in Valiant Universe. Punk Mambo is a voodoo priestess who she's like a British punk kind of rock girl who became a voodoo priestess. She's actually a really cool character. I wasn't crazy.
I'm also reading a Book of Shadows, so like I kind of saw her as a bit like a take on Constantine a little bit. Not
she's very much a Constantine-esque character, which I feel like every universe needs a Constantine.
Yeah,
Dr. Mirage is more like your Doctor Strange. She's a spirit medium. Her whole story is that her husband was her and her husband were kind of like a ghost whisperers almost, and they were very popular, and her husband died and became a ghost, and she's on this kind of like eternal quest to kind of find him and pull him back, and she's a really cool character as well. So Tales from the Deadside is these stories don't directly involve Punk Mambo, Dr. Mirage, and Shadowman. They're in the story, they're in the book, but this is really about the Deadside. So the Deadside is the character that this book is about, and it's 3 different stories that all take place in the Deadside. Or at some point, the characters interact with the Deadside. And you know, me personally, I think this is the best thing I've ever written from Valiant. Awesome. I really channeled like the Alan Moore, like I said, Neil Gaiman, like those types of older 80s horror, pulp horror comics, dark fantasy. Like that's the type of stuff that I was really trying to go for with this. And the Deadside is such a fun place to be able to play around with the different characters and how they can interact. So yeah, I think fans are going to enjoy this. So, you know, it comes out in October as well, so might as well get that with the Shadowman. And then I actually have one more Valiant book coming out in October. This is kind of crazy. I don't even realize how I don't even know, didn't even plan this, but you can bring up the Resurgence, Resurgence #1. And this cover is absolutely awesome. So I am actually co-writing the Resurgence storyline. Yes. So I mean, it wasn't formally announced. It's weird because I'm doing some co-writing stuff, so I'm not the main creative force behind the Resurgence storyline.
But
I'm
doing some, man. Like I want to say, man, like after reading up, I told you this yesterday in DMs, but like after reading up on what's going on with Valiant the last couple of years and how they were just getting their legs underneath them, and then COVID happened and stuff like that, and you know, everybody kind of took a hit, and you know, and they definitely took one, and it was like, you know, kind of just they got stunted a little bit. You know what I mean? And then for the, you know, now they're literally trying to do a resurgence, right? I think there's a little bit of meta narrative there. And the fact that they're putting this faith in you, man, like that's awesome. Like, I mean, I don't know. You should be proud of yourself, man, really.
I'm extremely proud. Like my wife always gets on me that I don't get happy and excited enough about myself. I think it's just, it's the way that I just kind of keep focused, because if I get too caught up in it, then I feel like I'll lose it. Right. So I have to, once you want to earn a spot, you're not guaranteed the spot. You know what I mean? Like I'm just one bad issue away from like, you know what I mean? Like not being able to continue. So I always have to keep my eyes on the prize and keep getting better and keep making sure that what I'm creating is the type of stuff that people actually want to consume. So
trying to find a good cover here. Like I found a couple, but they were like low res.
Okay. There should I know they're doing a lot of alternate covers as well. So
I mean, they all look great. I'm just trying to get a good file, is what I mean. Like
okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, as you are looking for that, I'll just explain what the Resurgence is. So all these storylines have been building up to this main storyline called the Resurgence of the Valiant Universe. And the Resurgence is basically based off this villain named Dr. Silk. And Dr. Silk is kind of like this like mad scientist guy who has been involved in a lot of different Valiant storylines, both present and future. And his whole thing is that he has he can clone himself and kind of keep himself alive indefinitely, because he's able to transfer his consciousness into a new clone. So over the decades, he's been able to come up with all types of technology and advancements. And now he's figured out a way to open up a portal to another realm called the Faraway. And if you're a Valiant fan, you might know of the Faraway from comics called like Archer and Armstrong and things like that. But it's almost like Valiant Savage Land in a way, where it's like this kind of like this paradise, kind of like Garden of Eden type place that sits outside of time. And he's essentially using portals to kind of sap energy from that place and terraform our reality. And what he's doing is he's getting rid of death, he's curing all disease, and he's becoming like this like political figure that people are starting to follow because he's doing, you know, he's making the world better. But of course the heroes are like, wait a minute, something's going on with this guy. We, you know, he's Dr. Silk, we know he's a villain, this can't be right. So now not only are the heroes trying to fight him, but they're also trying to fight public opinion because the world is actually turning towards the villain's side. And that's one of the things that I haven't really seen in an event, a superhero event before, where the people are actually have a reason to go and follow the villain. Usually the villain is just doing bad stuff, and you know he's a villain. He or she is a villain. But in this case, if you're just a person living in the Valiant universe, you're going to be like, hey, I actually want to go with this Dr. Silk guy. He just cured my grandmother's cancer. You know what I mean? My leg was broken yesterday. Now it's fixed perfectly. So why are the heroes telling us that we shouldn't go? So the people are actually against the heroes. They're booing the heroes because they don't understand why they're kind of you know, opposed to Dr. Silk. So that's pretty much the setup. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can think of anything like that, exactly like that, really. You know what I mean?
It's a super interesting premise. And you know, I'm co-writing some of the side stories that are going along with it. So there's kind of like some extra storytelling in each issue, and I'm the one I've been writing it. So I'm a co-writer on this story. So that's also the first issue that is coming out in October as well. So that's kind of crazy that I have 3 Valiant comics coming out in October. That's wild.
I mean, it's a big month for Valiant, big month for you. Yeah. It's my birthday month too, man. So that's
cool. Happy birthday, man. So I think that if you're looking for something different, if you know, once again, there's a lot of narratives going on right now about why comics are failing. And I don't even think the narrative of comics failing is even true, right? You know, there's all types of metrics that you can look at to see where comics are doing well, you know, if anything, comics are diversifying. But if you're the type of person who really are struggling with, you know, a Marvel or a DC comic for whatever reason, I think Valiant is a great alternative in regards to you know, just trying something new if you like interconnected superhero mature storytelling. And also, you know, I don't want to make this me dragging the big two. I read Marvel and DC. I like a lot of Marvel and DC. I don't want to, I probably shouldn't have said that, but ultimately, if you're just looking for something cool and unique and original to look at, or to read rather, I think Valiant is a cool and refreshing opportunity to try to read something new.
Hell yeah.
And like I said, the creative teams at Valiant are working really hard to try to make some cool comics. And yeah,
I think so.
Like,
you know, I mean, I know, I like to think that the people that watch me for my comics coverage and stuff know that I'm not going to sell them a line or anything. You know what I mean? And like, I've legit been, you know, I mean, I'll even say this, and then also the massive verse I've been getting into.
Dude, I was just about to say, like, listen, shout out Kyle Higgins. When I feel like he probably is if I can get some FaceTime with him in New York Comic Con, I'm gonna gush, because I love Radiant Black and all that whole universe. It's the first thing that reminds me of Invincible. When I first read Invincible, and I was so blown away. Like I tied my wife down and I'm like, you're gonna read this comic, and she was like, fine. And she started reading it. She was like, wow, this comic's awesome. And I don't force my wife to read many comics unless they're really, really good. I'm like, you're gonna really like this one. And Radiant Black
it must have been like to read the Marvel universe back whenever it was first getting started back in the day. You know what I mean?
That's a great way. But you know, I love how Kyle Higgins takes chances not only narratively but also with his comic book production style. Like, you know, making an accordion I don't know if you saw the accordion issue. There was it was an issue that focused on Radiant Yellow, and he was living in 4 different timelines. So the comic book unfolded like an accordion pages. So it folded out. So you read every page from left to right all the way across, and then you went back and read it. And it was actually made sense for the story. Like it wasn't just a gimmick.
Just a gimmick. It's like a thing that actually enhances the story. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That type of stuff I go crazy for. Like that type of cool printing and thinking outside the box, and like what he's doing right now with the narrative, how it's split. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much, but essentially he's telling the story right now in two different versions of the same story are going on concurrently. So you're reading, it's almost like you're reading. Yeah. There's a split, and it's like the main story, and there's the 0.5 story, and it's the same story, but if things had happened differently. Right, yeah, it's freaking crazy, and it's just it's such a cool. Yeah, thank you for bringing up Radiant Black, because that's one of the comic book universes that really gives me a lot of inspiration and a lot of
really just these two right now, man. Like they're both kind of like still getting
right,
building out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're in everybody knows I'm a Marvel head over here, so like, but I'm not telling you that you need to get rid of your Marvel books or whatever, but like it's understandable to kind of feel a little bit a need to like just check something else out, right? Like there's once you've explored the Marvel universe quite a bit, it's not a whole lot new that you can do, but there's a lot new going on in Valiant and in the Massiveverse, and so one thing I'm starting to do on the channel with Patreon supporters and stuff is like a kind of book club kind of thing, where we basically will read an issue. We're starting with the Massiveverse. We'll read an issue and then come together like once a week or so and talk about it, and then just kind of like go along like that. But I think I'm definitely going to be tying the Valiant into that. Maybe I'll alternate or something like that. But
there's lots of cool comics, guys. Like there's we're talking about Valiant and Massiveverse. We're talking about all the cool stuff that's on Kickstarter. All the stuff that Image has and Boom and IW. I've been hearing great things about Transformers right now. It's apparently really good.
Yeah, the Skybound stuff.
The Ronin, the Turtles, the Ronin stuff, the Skybound stuff. Like there's so many amazing comics, and I don't even have time to read nearly half of the stuff that I purchase. So there's a lot of stuff.
Kickstarter stuff though. So
that's okay. Perfect segue. Let's segue right into it. So yes, shameless plug. I am doing a Kickstarter right now. So out of all the books that I have been writing, one of the most fun books that I've written is this comic called KIMI Cosmic, and it is a space cowboy adventure. Now it's an all ages space cowboy comic. So I know a lot of people are like, well, it might not be my thing, and it's not, it might not be my cup of tea. I always tell people that this is definitely an all ages adventure, but it has themes that are applicable to people of all ages. And the themes, there's like Star Wars themes, kind of discovery and finding your place in the universe, and like one hero trying to change the tide of battle. She's a space cowboy who has to like unravel like the mystery of her half human heritage to prevent an evil corporation from subjugating her people. So there's equal parts like samurai lore and spaghetti western.
There's a lot in it, man. I enjoyed the first bit that I read, and like, I mean, just to be honest, like looking at it, I was like, this isn't the one that's for me. You know what I mean? I was super hyped on Dragonface, and I enjoyed was it Drone Slayer? But this, I was like, this is not. But once I checked it out, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like I found myself like, okay, this is not. It's not what I would have assumed just by looking. You know what I mean? There's a lot going on in there, and I appreciate that.
I always say, even if it's not the type of comic that you would think of buying yourself, you could always get a. I think it makes a great gift. I think if most people have like a cousin and a daughter, some children or sisters or whatever who are into, anybody who likes YA fiction, anyone who likes anime, manga, anyone who likes things like Steven Universe or Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender was literally my main inspiration for that, because I feel like that story is applicable for kids, adults, across the board. So that was very much.
It made me feel a bit like a snob, like I gotten older or something. I'm into opening myself up a little bit more, man.
You know what? It was having a child is what made me realize. I was like, you know what? I'm having a lot of comic book discourse with 40-year-old dudes, and no disrespect. I am a 40-year-old dude, so no disrespect. But it just became a situation where I'm just like, let's we got to make some comics for the next generation. I wrote KIMI Cosmic right after I wrote Dragonface, and as you know, Dragonface is pretty dark. So like I needed to
kind of like a palate cleanser after
Dragonface, precisely. That's exactly what it was. It was like let's do something bright, let's do something refreshing, let's do something fun, but something that still has some cool themes and still is a great story. So I'm just going to show off my goods real quick. So just so you guys know what I'm actually offering on the Kickstarter. So I don't know if you want to go to big screens real quick.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll put you right here.
Oh, just me. Okay, so this is the KIMI Cosmic graphic novel. It is a 130-page graphic novel. It's got 5 chapters of the KIMI Cosmic story. It's actually the first 5 chapters of the KIMI Cosmic story. As you can see, it's extremely colorful. It's illustrated by Emma Galloway and colored by Iacopa Callisti, and letters by Letter Squids. So everything from the lettering to the coloring is fun. It's very engaging, but like I said, it's got a really cool story. Essentially, KIMI Cosmic is a space cowboy, and what that means is that she actually is a real cowboy. She's not a gunslinger. She actually wrangles farm animals, and these farm animals are these bioluminescent creatures called quadpods. As you can see, they kind of glow blue and green in the darkness of space, and that was actually inspired by a bioluminescent bay that I swam in when I was in Puerto Rico. So these bioluminescent bays have these blue and green plankton that glow in the blackness of space. So that was the inspiration for the color schemes. And as you can see, we kind of maintain that blue and green kind of color scheme throughout the entire comic. So I worked really hard with the colorists to kind of like nail this kind of like bright and unique color design of the comic. So this graphic novel, like I said, is the first 5 chapters of KIMI Cosmic, 130 pages. And this is what we came out with a couple years ago. We've sold several hundred copies of this graphic novel, and it's we're now going bigger with it. So I'm really excited that I was able to put this out. And this is, so far as an independent comic book creator, this has been the book that I've sold the most.
Awesome.
But for the Kickstarter, we have that book, but we also have the 2 new issues. So issue 6 and issue 7 are the new issues that we are launching with this Kickstarter. Issue 6, we introduce a new villain named Tribulation Mary, and Tribulation Mary is a gunslinger, and there she is riding her trusty steed, and she's gonna bring a lot of drama for KIMI Cosmic. Oh, that's a little holographic KIMI Cosmic sticker right there that's covering up the logo there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
So I got a question 6 here. Do you ship to the EU?
Yes, I do ship to the EU. I charge a little bit more for shipping, of course.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Just because they go crazy with customs, and I got to package it extra to make sure you get it without it being messed up. But I absolutely do ship to the EU. I ship pretty much anywhere in the world. And this is issue 7, which is the culmination of the first story arc. So that's 7 issues of story right there. And I know that's another thing that a lot of independent comic book people that I see do. They only do like 3, 4, 5 issue storylines. They don't really continue the story. I can tell you right now, we're working on issues 8 through 10 right now, and that will bring KIMI Cosmic into the double digits. So I fully intend to keep putting work into this storyline. I don't want to be the type of writer who jumps from IP to IP. I want to really put a lot of work into a couple different storylines. So I'm committing to KIMI Cosmic because people seem to really like it, and I think it's fun. I think it's like I said, if you like Harry Potter, if you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think this is just the type of comic book story that almost anyone can appreciate. And one more thing I'll show you is we have the special rose gold foil edition KIMI Cosmic #1. So that is on the campaign as well. And yeah, this is really pretty freaking cool, right? These are rare. We don't have that. I didn't print that many of these, so we'll see how many of them last. That's for the collectors. In addition to that, on the campaign, we also have my other comic called Drone Slayer X. So Drone Slayer X is actually kind of like my futuristic superhero comic. It's about the world's greatest robotic engineer's daughter has to learn how to control his father's technology to prevent a group of revolutionaries from stealing it and starting an international war. So this comic's in black and white, but the artwork is really, really great. Our artist is just phenomenal. and you can see these pages like the facial expressions, the hairstyles, everything is extremely well detailed, and it actually I think it looks better actually in black and white. So
those ones it definitely does. Some of them just do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we actually sold out of this, but what I am putting on the campaign is the Anime NYC edition. So this is our alternate cover with the villain, the grass cutter queen. Her helmet is inspired by Samus Aran from Metroid.
Nice.
But she's the villain of the comic, and so we gave her a cover, and this is the Anime NYC edition of Drone Slayer X #1, and that is available with the KIMI Cosmic campaign. A couple of the tiers have that.
Damn.
So yeah, that is pretty much what's on the campaign right now. So if you guys,
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of stuff. You know, I just like making comics, man. What can I say? And I really want to continue making them. And I always say that a dollar that you spend on an independent comic book is like spending $5. You know, because the money that we get goes so much further. Like if you buy a comic from a mainstream comic book company, excuse me, and I say this working for a mainstream comic company. It's extremely important, but as an independent creator, we really need the financial support that you guys provide. Hold on, I have a cough. Hold on.
It's all good. Yeah, and just to kind of fill out the rest of the information here. It's the goal. It's going to be all or nothing funded by August 31st. And I mean, right now, it looks like you're not going to have a lot of problems getting there, man. Right?
This is the tough time of any campaign, because when campaign usually plateau in the middle.
Oh yeah.
Usually you raise something like 60 or 70% of your money usually during the first 48 and last 48. That depends. Like everyone has different, charts, but for a lot of people, I know for my last campaign, that's how it was. It was like 70% of it was in the first 48 and in the last 48. So you get into the middle of your campaign and it's just this really emotional, stressful time where you're like, oh my God, I went 24 hours with no backers. Oh my God, I'm gonna miss it. But you know what? I just trust the process. I know doing shows like this with good people like you will hopefully help to get some support. I was very blessed in the last campaign. I overfunded. So if I just hit my goal this time, I'll be extremely happy. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not easy to sell comics. It's not easy to get people to spend money. There's so much competition for people's entertainment dollar nowadays. So getting someone to spend money on a comic book is tough. So, I think that's
guys. If you're interested at all, and it's something you would want to consider checking out, and possibly supporting, I would recommend it. I don't sell you stuff, unless I really believe in it. You know what I mean? Like, and I've read the stuff. I haven't read these issues exactly, but it's quality. It's I honestly don't know that I don't want to build you up too much, man, while you're on the show, but I don't know that I've read like more quality just kind of creator owned comics that I've supported, funded than what you got.
Thank you.
So,
thank you. And we have a lot more coming. I am writing a lot for Valiant now, but I'm also still working on some new stuff. The second half of Drone Slayer is coming. I have I don't know if I should probably not say what I have coming out until it's closer to being ready. But let's just say I am working on some new creator stuff. I already said I am working on the next issues of KIMI Cosmic, and I'm just happy that I can continue to make more comics. That's what's great. So I don't know if any people had questions that they wanted to ask. I know
I saved a couple.
I've been yapping for a minute.
So just a couple of comments here. Bob of the old ways, he was, man, whenever he found out that you were writing Shadowman, he got all hyped because he was a big Valiant fan back in the day, and so he's having flashbacks right now, going back into that stuff and catching up with some of the more recent stuff as well.
Yeah, man. For Shadowman, I'll say this: if you guys are reading Shadowman, there's a really good reading order, because like comics, sometimes it's difficult to know what to read after what. There's there's a good reading order that I could recommend. It's on Reddit. Maybe I'll find the link real quick and post it here. But I really enjoyed the Andy Diggle run on Shadowman as well. That was really good. I don't want to hedge it against the other Shadowman runs because they're all actually really good. But that happened to be my favorite, that the Andy Diggle run. But I'm gonna post a link right now for a Shadowman reading order that I found online that I found was really good.
Let's see. This one says, your enthusiasm is contagious. Also, the humility of honoring established lore and still making it your own is the mark of a true artist. And they're hooked. So
I 100% appreciate that very, very much. And there's this thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of writers are arrogant, and I think you have to be a little bit arrogant to be a creator because you're creating a world. You're a god of your own world, right? So there is a certain level of arrogance, but I never really appreciated when a writer would take over a new book and kind of just abandon the storyline that came before it. Now sometimes it might be a storyline that really wasn't good and fans didn't like. So maybe you should kind of like skirt around the previous storyline for better or for worse. But I feel like there's this need for writers to say, I want to write the story I want to write, which means I need to start fresh and I need to do something completely new and not disregard what came before. And I don't think that's true because I think the best writers build, if you're writing a comic book character that has existed for a long time and will exist for a long time after you've written them, then you just have to add to their story. You can't be solely responsible for completely recreating their story. So like going back to Swamp Thing, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, which I still encourage everyone, it's still one of the best comic book reads I've ever had. And Alan Moore's Swamp Thing is a continuation of the Swamp Thing that came before it. Even though it was a dramatic re-envisioning of the character, he still found a way to still build on the continuity that existed before he came on the book. So, you can do something incredible and original and unique and still follow the storyline of the writer who wrote the character before you. So that's just kind of one of the ways that I kind of think. And and also, as from a writing perspective, it kind of makes your job easier. Like, Colin Bunn did a good job on Shadowman, and a lot of the characters that he created are cool. So I would love to use them in my storyline and be able to do cool things with them.
Well, I mean, it gives you like a good jumping off point, right? Like you're not starting from scratch. And then I kind of, just from a reader perspective, man, I am a writer. I haven't actually written any comics yet. I'd like to someday, but like, to me, if I was to be handed like a legacy character that's like, been going for a while, is going to keep going in the future like that. I feel like it's kind of your responsibility to, to do what you can to pay, to keep threads going from before and also make it your own. And then also leave it in a state that, somebody else can do the same thing as you, you know what I mean? It's like, as far as picking up and running with it. Right. I like whenever I, am reading some title and the creators seem to be doing that for each other as they, go from creative team to creative team. And it's like, I feel like this is part of writing comics like that, but what do I know?
No, you said that's exactly true. You mentioned something about the Krakoa. Somebody's talking about X-Men Krakoa. It's funny. I just had to watch a YouTube video on the whole Krakoa stuff because I read the first like House of X and Powers of 10, and then I couldn't keep up with the storyline. I got too busy. So I just had to watch a video just to recap that whole story. And man, Hickman is quite a writer, man. That guy is
what he set up for. He kind of left the whole thing after I guess about 2 years or so of it. He left, but like, so it was about a 5-year thing. And I don't want to get off on praising Marvel or anything, but like in particular this Krakoan era of X-Men, man, was like, it was my favorite just extended period of comics ever. Like there was so much rich, narrative soil to till, you know what I mean? Like, and that's all, almost primarily because of Hickman, but also the creators that he chose to kind of work with them. And, everybody from Leah Williams, Teenie Howard, and, there's just that, God, it was so good. And I was legit sad whenever I found out it was going to be coming to an end, and I was all worried that they were going to, you know, kind of abandon so much stuff from it and not pay any tribute to it and whatnot. And we're already seeing with this new era that they're doing, that just a couple of issues in, that there's a lot of you know, they're dealing with a lot of consequences from that era. But yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I was pretty heartbroken when it ended. I'll say that. But like, just being a comics fan all my life, I don't think I've ever enjoyed such a large, just a swath of titles and like just extended period of like, you know, even the worst stuff in that era was kind of like still pretty good. You know what I mean?
So you read all of it pretty much?
I mean, I'm not every literal issue, but I've read probably, if I had to guess, maybe like 80% of it, 85.
Because after, I think I've heard people refer to it as Hoxpox. Yeah. After Hoxpox, I don't know how to follow the story. I know there's the sword of X of Swords. I know there's Inferno. I know those are like the main.
Put you onto a reading list, man. A reading order.
Right, but see, my problem with the reading list is that I'm trying to get an abbreviated reading list, something that doesn't have all the filler, you know, because I know there's a reading.
I could take that reading order and I can kind of go through it and see what I think you know, like you wouldn't.
I would love that. I need someone to curate a reading list for me, because
I'll do that for you, man.
Because I remember when I remember when the Hickman did the whole Secret Wars stuff, and you know, the Avengers titles were amazing leading up to that, and then when it got to the whole Break World stuff, it just blossomed into so many titles. I was like, oh my gosh, but some of that stuff was really, really good. And I'm glad that they're using that stuff for the new Marvel Secret Wars movies. That's gonna be cool.
Honestly, that Hickman Secret Wars is my favorite you know, just line wide event that Marvel's ever done.
It was incredible, like
built up to really well, and then executed pretty well, considering it was also, you know, some corporate and editorial mandate going on there too. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing with like, there's always some of that to consider with the big guys too. That's like, you know, much less of that to worry about whenever it comes to Valiant, I think. It's more done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, right? I mean, Valiant has had their own struggles with corporate stuff as well, you know.
Sure.
But so, you know, you never know. But I'm hoping, and I'm very confident that this resurgence will continue to surge, if you will. And
I'm gonna be doing my part to, you know, promote it, man, and read it as it comes along and stuff. And same thing with you know, I'm going to be back in KIMI Cosmic as soon as I get paid.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. Any support is, like I said, is extremely appreciated. Yeah. Do we have any more questions?
Let's see.
Questions, comments?
Well, so this one was, do you, now that I think about it, does anyone else think of Shadowman as a mix of the Phantom and Ghost Rider?
Wow.
I guess maybe not. I don't know much about the Phantom.
I was just about to say my Phantom knowledge. Wait, okay, hold on. Let me get this. Let me make sure my comic book brain is working properly. Who's the guy with the purple tights and like the goggles?
That's the Phantom. Yeah.
But then, oh wait, isn't there a character called the Phantom Stranger?
I think so. But honestly, I don't even know if Ghost Rider is. I mean, like in a very kind of vague sense of like, yeah, maybe a little bit like just. But honestly, after reading, you know, several issues of Shadowman in the last few days, I don't think that I can really pin him to another character super well.
Okay, so the Phantom Stranger is a DC comic book character. Okay, yes, okay. All right, that's all right. So, and then the Phantom. But wasn't that just, was he a comic book character, or was he just a movie character? The
Phantom was actually, he's the example I use whenever people want to talk about legacy character, like, you know, how these rip-off characters and they're swapped or whatever, that kind of stuff. The Phantom is the one that I use to say, like, no, man, legacy characters have been ingrained in this stuff since the beginning, because he's what was called like a transitional character. He had one foot in the pulp stories and one foot, he was like kind of the proto superhero. Because he was the first one to wear the domino mask. He was the first one to wear his underwear outside his tights. You know what I mean? He was also the one that was introduced. The very first Phantom was the 17th in line, because it was like a thing that was passed down through his lineage. The reason they call him the ghost that walks is because he, every time one of them would die, they pass it down to his son or whatever, and so all the pirates and the criminals thought it was the same guy that was just a ghost.
Gotcha. Okay, you know what? I you know what? Now that you say that, lore, some of that is I feel like I remember some of that. Okay. So now that I've distinguished the Phantom from the Phantom Stranger, but the Phantom was not DC. He was other.
He was. I don't know who published him. Honestly,
he was a different. He was okay. All right.
Probably one of those ones that might have been what's it called that used to do Flash Gordon comics.
Right. One of those. Okay. So in terms of Shadowman being like the Phantom or Ghost Rider, I think Ghost Rider is probably more accurate because Ghost Rider, I think I remember Danny Ketch. Danny Ketch was my Ghost Rider, not Johnny Blaze. But being possessed by like this supernatural entity that gives you supernatural powers, but it's kind of like an evil entity that you use for good. That is very similar to what Jack Boniface's relationship is with the Shadow Lua. So that actually there is a good parallel between Ghost Rider and Shadowman.
Okay.
One of the things, if you read all the Valiant Shadowman stuff, and I already linked you guys with it, it's actually not that many. It's only like maybe a couple dozen issues altogether. But every writer kind of has a different take on the character slightly, but there's this constant battle between Jack and the Shadow Lua, because it's a rebellious spirit, right, that he has to tame. But Jack also has a broken life where he has a bunch of issues with his family and things like that. So the brokenness of Jack Boniface with the vengeful energy of the Shadow Lua combined makes for a very complicated superhero.
Volatile mix, maybe.
Yes, very volatile mix. And
so one thing that I've liked about sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I've just like like I said, just fresh getting into into Shadowman. I like the fact that he's a musician, and down in Big Easy too. And like I'm from the South, so I've got some experience, in the area and stuff. So like all that kind of resonates with me. Are you going to be leaning into any of the musical side of stuff of his character?
I'm so happy you said that. How can I answer this question? I'll say this, and I don't mind saying this. This storyline right now does not directly deal with Jack's musicality, but just stay tuned, because I'm so happy you said that, because literally I just had a writers meeting the other day and we were talking about some stuff. So thank you for just stay tuned. I just went to Newport Jazz Festival, so I'm very inspired by jazz music. As a hip hop artist, sampled a lot of jazz and stuff. So jazz is very close to me, and jazz is central to especially the original run of Shadowman from the 90s. Jack Boniface was like a full-time jazz musician. This modern iteration of Jack Boniface, he plays the saxophone, but he's not like a jazz musician like that.
Okay.
So it's something that it is a part of the character, but not as much in this current iteration. But like I said, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. It's so funny you asked me that question.
And then Screwface Capone said here, this is I think the last one. I remember playing the old game on Dreamcast. Just off the rip, knowing Acclaim doesn't have anything to do with the new one already tells me it's going to be better than the old one.
So it's interesting
about Acclaim didn't really make the best decisions.
So Acclaim, I feel like this. Acclaim was really good and really bad for Valiant, in the sense that Acclaim acquired their characters, and they did what I don't think they should have done, is they rebooted the universe, right? So they rebooted the universe, and with mixed results. I would say at the time when I was reading Valiant, I wasn't crazy about the new rebooted versions of the characters. However, some of the rebooted characters are really cool. Like, for instance, the rebooted Shadowman by Garth Ennis was super popular. I'm actually just started to read that, actually. And that was, apparently it's really well done. I know celebrated. And I know that version of the character is a character that was used for the video game. Because I think there was an N64 game, And I think the N64 game might have been the same game on the Dreamcast, or it might have been a different game, but I think both consoles had a Shadowman game, and the Shadowman video game in both of those consoles was based off the acclaimed version of Shadowman. But also there was the Turok Dinosaur Hunter video games, and a lot of people, the only reason they even know about Turok is because of those video games, and those games were really cool, and they were really good actually, for first-person shooters of the time. And you know, we would only have those Turok video games if it wasn't for Acclaim purchasing Valiant. So I always think about that Acclaim era is such an interesting era, because the comics were, you know, hit or miss, but they did give the Valiant comic book characters a larger identity and more exposure. Right, brand awareness, precisely. So yeah, I will say this: if you like the Shadowman video game, there's a little Easter egg. Actually, somebody already caught it in the Master Dark comic book. So there's a comic book out right now from Valiant called The Dark's Soul Side, and actually, this is a good segue. You guys should probably read that if you want to get ready for my Shadowman story. Master Dark is, of course, the sorcerer that Shadowman fights. So he's the you know, Joker to his Batman, right? Shadowman's pretty much his whole. Actually, we can go through a little bit of his Shadowman history real quick. Shadowman's great grandfather, Marius Boniface, was romantically involved with Sandria Dark, who was the sister of Nicodemo Dark. Nicodemo and Sandria are these master sorcerers who inherited magic from their parents. So Sandria started to become fearful of her brother Nicodemo, who was kind of getting out of hand with his dark magic. So in a fit of rage, she was actually pregnant with Marius Boniface's child, and she sacrifices the child in this dark ritual. And that sacrifice is what bonded the Shadow Lua to the Boniface line. So that's why Shadowman is always a Boniface, because the Shadow Lua is actually bonded to his bloodline by Sandria Dark. That's a pretty crazy origin story. Like, if you read that, I forget what Shadowman issue that takes place in, but it's really, really, really cool. So, you know, the Darks is a new storyline that's out right now, and it's both Sandria and Master Dark. It's a 2-part storyline written by Fred Van Lente, and I think issue 2 comes out this month. So you should check that out, because there's definitely a little bit of connection to the Shadowman storyline I'm writing, and there's a small Easter egg for the Shadowman video game if you are a fan of the Shadowman, old school Shadowman video games. I didn't even know this, but apparently there's a weapon that's used in this comic that is one of the weapons you could use in the Shadowman video game. Yeah. So
let me just, like, off the top of my head real quick, do you guys, like, you said you had a writers meeting, do the different writers kind of like coordinated just a little bit here and there, or
yeah, it's a little bit here and there. I mean, right now it's me and, you know, and Fred Van Lente. We're meeting because we're working on the Resurgence storyline together, and in addition, there's a lot of little, once again, tangential connections between a lot of storylines we're writing at the same time. So we just kind of have to check in with each other just to make sure, like, oh, will this work? And if I do this with this character, how will that affect your storyline? And, you know, so yeah, we do have writers meetings to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page, and that the overall story is working together as a connected story. So yeah, and man, I feel like a little flea in these writer meetings. I'm like, oh my gosh. But you're saying, can I tell what?
Well, I was gonna say, can you talk a little bit about like how much are they, like, just letting you kind of like do your own thing, right? Like, that's a great
question. That's a great question. Ideally, I think I'm kind of like bookended by my creativity is bookended by them. So essentially, before I can even start with a storyline or whatever, we kind of come up with the storyline, the concept together. So ideally, they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, listen, we want you to work on this character. And this is kind of like what we're thinking. Can you pitch us a story that works within this general idea? And it'll be a very vague idea. It'll just be like, you know, for NINJAK and Roku, it was basically, we want a storyline with NINJAK and Roku. That's pretty much what they came to me with. So I was like, okay. So then I come back to them with a pitch. And then when they read the pitch, they look at it and they say, okay, we like this, we like that, but we don't like that, and that's not going to work because, you know, for some other reason. Sometimes it's just the functionality of the storyline. So then we iron out the pitch. Once the pitch is ironed out, they're pretty much hands off for the scripts. And when I turn in my scripts, they're very good about not really changing too much. And usually if they have to change something, it's because there's something that doesn't work mechanically with the rest of the Valiant universe. Right. But aside from that, they don't really change a lot of my ideas. I was actually quite surprised. I imagined that they would push back on some of the things that I did and some of the chances that I take. But for the most part, they have been pretty good on letting me flex my creative muscle. So awesome. And then at the end, when it's all said and done, before we're done with the story, because things are always changing in real time, there might be something new that I have to add or take away at the very end, because now they might have changed their vision a little bit. So there's always like tweaking that happens, some last minute tweaking, dialogue, whatever, some changing of pages or whatnot. And then then we just go to the final product. So overall, there's not that much interference. It's more like guidance. It's more like, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for. This is kind of what we want to do. Is there anything that you can fill this idea with? And then I'll refine it and give it back to them. And usually there's not that much. There's usually not that much changing. So
it sounds like a pretty healthy working relationship, to be honest. Like it's pretty, you know. Like you got the guys there, you know, so you're not like just completely on your own out in the wilderness, but you can still kind of, you know, take some swings. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Are there any characters with Valiant that or even any other pub? Well, I don't want to ask you that, but just within Valiant that you would want to work on, you hope you get to work on.
I hope to get to do more NINJAK one day. I would love to write EXO just because EXO is EXO. He's like their main character, so I would love to do some EXO. Divinity is a character who I've always been fascinated with, and actually I can just be honest, that's the character who I originally pitched Valiant for, and I still have a golden Divinity pitch still sitting on my desk. One day, hopefully, we'll get to make that. So Divinity. So I have to say Divinity just because I already have a pitch for him that I really like a lot that I want to do. But yeah, NINJAK. I would love to do NINJAK. I would love to do EXO. Toyo Harada. So Toyo Harada is like the villain of the Harbinger series, and he's had his own solo comics. And his solo comics, one of them is called Imperium, and the other one is called The Life and Death of Toyo Harada. Those are my favorite Valiant comics. Those are my #1 favorite Valiant comics. They're written by Joshua Dysart.
I'm gonna have to check those out based on that.
Yeah. So it's like Toyo Harada is like Magneto, and like. I'm not even Professor X. He's like Magneto meets Lex Luthor.
In a Bloodshot thing I was reading.
So he pops up. Yeah. So yeah, to me, he's like Magneto and Lex Luthor. Like he's a villain who wants to kind of save the world, but he's gonna do it by any means necessary. Yeah. And
I remember being like kind of confused at first whether or not I should see him as a villain or not. Right. Like,
right. Yeah. He's definitely ambiguous because it depends on which side of the fence you stand. Because a lot of people don't think Magneto is a villain. In fact, I would say a lot of people sympathize. I know my wife always tells me that she's Team Magneto. She's always like,
and more recently in the comics, man, I don't even think there's any doubt. Like honestly, Professor X been doing more villainous shit lately.
Exactly, Professor X is more of a villain. Absolutely. So so the Toyo Harada is definitely a really cool character. So actually, I take back everything I said. If I could write something, it would be Toyo Harada centric, because you read Dragon Face, my horror book. I like writing villains. I like writing horror, so that would probably be my #1. But yeah, I mean, listen, I know you were already talking about what other places I would like. I would definitely want to write in the Massiverse. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, if give me a radiant color that you haven't done. Give me radiant magenta. Let me write a Radiant, because I really like the Massiverse comic book universe. It's really fun.
It's exciting.
But yeah, man. I mean, like I said, who knows where this is gonna take me. The cool thing is, if I don't get to continue writing mainstream comics for one reason or another, because it's not easy to keep these types of jobs, and a lot of it has to depend on sales and editorial decisions that I can't control. I still get to do my own indie comics. I still get to
And there's nothing wrong with that at
focus
all,
more,
man.
right? And so you know, no matter what, I'm gonna be making funny books, you know, for as long as I can. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm gonna have to wrap up soon, but I wanna make sure I get all the questions before I head off.
I just got one last. Are you
Okay.
working on? Have you been working on, or do you plan on working on any more music?
That is a great question. The answer is absolutely yes. My biggest issue with music right now is I don't really. The music industry is just a strange monster, and it's changed so much over the past few years that I don't really know how to release music.
Yeah.
Like there used to be a marketing way. There used to be a way you used to drop an album. You used to build anticipation, and then you would drop a single, and then you try to do shows, and you try to get some local radio and, you know, whatever, and press, all that type of stuff. But now, I don't know, everything is just like content based and social media based, and like, you know, streaming services are doing whatever they're doing with their algorithms and stuff. So and I'm older now. I got a family. I can't tour like that. I can't do a lot of the stuff I used to do music. So
I feel that. I used to play in a band back in the day, man, and that's a young man's game. That kind of
it absolutely is. You know, so I'm not saying that I'm not gonna do music or drop music. I have music. I have recorded. In fact, I just talked to one of my producers about dropping a single. So I might what I think I'm gonna just start doing is just start dropping it. Just start putting music out. Like, not forgetting about marketing and promotion and trying to do it the right way. Just drop it. And you know, once I get all the music that I have out, then maybe I can figure out, you know, I would love to combine a music release with a comic book release. So like maybe make like some type of graphic novel that's paired with you know, some exclusive vinyl or something like that, like some type of cool packaging where I'm combining all my comic book stuff with my music stuff. That's something that I'm really thinking about. And
I don't know if you are aware. There's a couple of bands that I know of that kind of have something like that. That if I could tell you about sometimes if you want to.
Yeah, no, there's a whole company, Z2 Comics. They have several graphic novels that they've released with you know, rock bands, hip hop artists, like in like top tier artists too. They essentially pair music with comics. Shout out my buddy DJ Ben Hameen. He just finished that Jimi Hendrix graphic novel that just came out this month. So there's a Jimi Hendrix graphic novel that he worked on. So
nice.
The intersection between music and comics is extremely strong. And being that I've worked extensively in both fields, I definitely need to put out a project that represents both of those. So really, it's just about timing. You know, I'm doing one thing at a time. Right now, I'm trying to do my best with Shadowman, so I'm trying to devote all my energy to that. But you know, once I get a little bit of breathing room, yeah, the music and the comic book stuff will definitely be turned back up, and I will definitely be releasing more stuff. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. So all right. So I'm gonna I guess I'm gonna take off now.
All right, man. Yeah.
We should do this. It took way too long for us to hop back on. We should do this more often.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna you know, if you want to, you know, hit me up if you want any kind of like clips from this or something, anything specific you want me to cut out for you, I can do that. Don't mind
if you could clip the KIMI COSMIC stuff, that'd be great. Like just me talking about the books, that'd be fantastic. And also that beautiful little intro you had at the beginning with the logo and all the Industrial Light and Magic and ILM intro that you came up with. That was fire, man. That was fire. Shout out everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for listening to me yap for an hour. About comics.
Anytime,
I had a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure, man. And you know, best of luck to you. I think you're going to be doing some. I mean, you're already doing some great things. I can only see you doing greater things. So
thank you. And you know, one more thing for any comics that you guys buy, if you should always pre-order, even if it's the big comics, the Marvels and DCs or whatever. Comic book shops really are depending on these pre-orders nowadays. So so try to get your pre-orders in for anything that you're trying to get. And once again, support indie comics, support Kickstarter comics. These creators live live on your dollars. So for like the price of a cocktail, you could probably buy a comic or graphic novel, you know. So definitely support, because we want to keep being able to make stories for you guys and make really cool stuff for you guys to enjoy. So thank you, and thank you guys for championing me. All the love that I've gotten is the only reason I was able to continue doing this. So again, thank you.
Cool.
And Dane, you the man.
Oh, thank you.
You the big homie for sure.
I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Have a good one.
Peace.
All right. That was pretty good. Pretty cool. You know, it was pretty cool on his end. I'm just over here like, you know, letting him say cool shit about comics. Like, how's everybody doing? You know, it's pretty cool. I'd like to be able to do this more often. I honestly, like, there was a time whenever I really wanted to just have like a guest every week, basically. But you know, it becomes kind of tedious to kind of like get with people and nail down schedules and all that stuff. And you know, and then sometimes maybe you end up having a guest on or something that you're like, this isn't really the most exciting thing in the world. That's not the case with AJ. You know, I couldn't wait to get him back on. And you know, especially once he, you know, was writing for Valiant and shit. It's like, yeah. Arrived just at the end. Thank you. Yeah, he's chilling. He's like very knowledgeable, very talented. If you haven't read any of his stuff, very talented. I don't like, you know, and I think I'm embarrassed him a little bit by reading off the list of the creators that have worked on Shadowman before him, like, because he's like, oh, I don't, you know, he probably didn't feel like he's like should be listed in that same list of names. But I mean, you know, he hasn't made that name for himself yet. But I honestly don't see any reason, as far as the talent that he has, that he couldn't be, you know, easily staying alongside those guys, you know, in the future. Once he just proves it over and over and over again, what I'm already seeing with just a few things of his that I've read. He's kind of seems like he just intrinsically gets comics. He knows comics. He knows what makes a good comic. He knows what, you know, he's a comics fan, and it's honestly really exciting to be able to talk with somebody who's right there at the, you know, like 2 years ago, he was putting out his creator-owned books. Since then, he's gotten with Valiant, and you know, you can feel that energy, that excitement of, like, you know, like he's kind of got probably still got this part of him is inside. He's just like, man, I'm fucking writing for Valiant right now, you know. And yeah, so you guys are probably going to see me you know, shilling for Valiant, and you'll definitely see probably something like a little promo running for his Kickstarter, at least through the end of the month, whenever it ends. Try and make sure that gets funded, if I can do anything at all to make that happen. He does. I mean, he does. It's you know, I can't stress that enough. And I hope I didn't freak him out saying this either. Like, I was like, dude, if do you guys want to go over the real quick? That's what we should do. Let's go over the history, the recent history even of Valiant and what they've been through. Because I was like, I mean, I'm just as in, you know, just as much into the history, like the meta history, the real history of Valiant, as I'm now getting into the lore. Of course not. No, because Valiant isn't something that, you know, unfortunately for now anyway, doesn't get the clicks. It doesn't have the, you know, the worldwide, you know, oversaturated fan base, and or at least, you know what it is, because Marvel, DC, stuff like that, a lot of the people that talk about these things, especially with the worst takes about it, they don't read comics. That's clear, you know, but like, they're aware of who the characters are, and they're aware of like some general, you know, factoids about these characters or whatever. So they think they understand the character based on that stuff. And they, you know, so whenever something is slightly different than what changed from their limited scope of understanding of these characters or whatever, they get all like, oh, I'm gonna get on my fucking high horse and act like I you know what I'm talking about. And that's how you get some of the worst goddamn takes about comics. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about Chuds anymore than that. That's it. Bob trying to fucking reel me in with that shit, man. It's about AJ and his success, and it's about Valiant and hopefully their continued success, because legit, like, I was looking around, I wanted to see if Valiant, I mean, I'll be honest, I was looking to see if this Valiant Resurgence has a chance of like kind of putting them back in, in the path, right? Like, 'cause they were on the path of like, they could be the next, I don't know if there's anything to compare them to, because it's definitely pretty a deep roster of characters and lore. And the next closest thing, I guess, would have to be Marvel or DC, which is crazy because like their roster and their lore is far more expansive than Valiant, but Valiant is still, they've got a lot of shit. Big up your peeps, ignore the chuds. Yeah, I'm trying to big up my peeps. I think I know what that means. I don't know. Anyway, so Valiant. Here's the deal with Valiant. So you guys know who launched Valiant Comics, right? Jim fucking Shooter. It's an American comic company, first incarnation of which was founded in 1989 by former Marvel Comics editor-in-chief Jim Shooter, along with a lawyer and businessman Steve Masarski. But in 1994, the company was sold to Acclaim Entertainment. After Acclaim's 2004 bankruptcy, so just a decade later, Acclaim went bankrupt. The company's assets were purchased as part of Valiant Entertainment by entrepreneurs Dinesh Shamsani and Jason Kothari, 2005. 2011, Valiant received capital infusion. We kind of went over this the other day, but the interesting thing is to me is more recently. Let's see. Okay, so in 2012, they did their whole relaunch, right? Where it was a line-wide reboot, everything from scratch, basically. And that's the stuff that I got into reading a good bit of, I guess, probably not even close to half of it, but I read several things a couple years ago. So I read a lot of Bloodshot. I read some Archer and Armstrong. I read some Faith. I read a little bit of Harbinger, and mostly Bloodshot, because once I started reading about that, I was surprised that it was I honestly didn't expect that, but like, I don't know if he's always been this way, Bloodshot. Like, I don't know if maybe the 90s version was just a little bit more two-dimensional or something. Who knows? But I was surprised at how nuanced the character actually is. When I think of Bloodshot, or I used to think of Bloodshot, I kind of like, I think I probably even used to think he was an Image character, because he's got blood in the name, right? The difference, like, was he a Rob Liefeld character or something? No, the difference is, for one, you can see his feet. Two, you ever notice that Rob Liefeld's character names don't tell you anything about the characters? Somebody pointed that out not long ago, and I was like, holy shit, that's what it is. That's what's wrong with him. Like, even if it is kind of a cool name or something that he came up with, it doesn't tell you anything about him, right? Well, I mean, but yeah, like Dark Horse and Image definitely have, are more, larger in market share, but I don't think they have the shared universe aspect, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like, right now, Image is building up their new shared universe. Their shared universe now is just the Massiveverse, officially. I was surprised to learn that. The Massiveverse is the official Image shared universe now. Yeah, likewise, Cable Name. I mean, something about like, because he's like a link to the. It's a really fucking stupid explanation for it, right? Even Deadpool, it's like, yeah, I guess in the movies they made it kind of work or whatever, but like they just glossed. Okay, now let's move on. His name's Deadpool. Get over it. It's like, but Bloodshot actually does describe something about the character. you know, because he is his blood is shot through with fucking nanites. He's got fucking nanites in his blood, and he can heal and shit like that. Which, you know, that describes something about him. Don't know anything about Valiant, huh? You don't know any of the characters or anything, huh? All right, let's do a quick rundown here. Not just nanites, they're fucking nanites. They're shot through with Vin Diesel, you know? It's dumb. So right here we've got, this is from Resurgence #1, which AJ is working on with Fred Van Linte and a couple other people, but like these are your general Valiant heroes, like the most popular ones, or what most well known. I think I can name almost all of them. Almost. So right here up front, you've got their #1 guy, Exo Manowar. I remember seeing images of him in Wizard Comics back in the day. I never, you know, really understood what he was about. Like I knew other publishers existed, but I just didn't care because I was all in on Marvel when I was first getting into comics, right? But Exo Manowar is essentially he's a Visigoth, ancient Visigoth warrior who I think his origin is that he came upon this alien battle suit, basically armor, that prolongs his life or something, and like just gives him all these powers. And so he's like existed for shitloads of years, lots of centuries, right? That's him. That's Exo Manowar. A bit like Iron Man in function, but that's it. Like everything else is completely a unique, you know, kind of origin and story. You got Bloodshot there. He's pretty, you know, easy to spot, especially now that Vin Diesel has made that goddamn. Oh, that's a good one. Iron Man and Conan the Barbarian, which is really a crazy fucking, like, that shouldn't make any sense, right? But it kind of does. They made it work. Bloodshot, he's the guy that, like, he's a kind of a bit like a fucked up take on Captain America. You know what I mean? So he's a soldier that was created to be the kind of soldier that can take a bunch of damage, and then basically so that they don't have to keep putting real, you know, people that are going to get hurt and killed out on, you know, or whatever. But it's a corporate asset kind of thing. And he's had several identities. Part of the whole thing with his storyline is that he doesn't know which of the memories that he has are really his and who he really was before he was Bloodshot. He knows these names of different guys that, like, he could have been this guy, he could have been this, we could have been both of them, because basically they kind of like reload him with different, you know, memories or identities each time and stuff, and then they erase him, and, you know, it's kind of like a Ghost in the Shell a little bit. On the left there, you've got the Eternal Warrior. He is a guy who I mean, the name says it. He's been around for a long time. He can die, but he comes back. He exists to protect the earth from the immortal enemy, it's called. So the Eternal Warrior and the immortal enemy, they're just like, you know, locked in, you know, fated to be in combat for all of time kind of thing. And every so many years or whatever, the immortal enemy shows up, and the Eternal Warrior has to fucking fight his ass. Over on the right with the swords, down at the bottom, you got NINJAK, as in NINJAK versus Roku, which is what AJ first wrote for Valiant. And I didn't really realize this, but the way AJ described him is he's kind of like Batman. I did not know that, and I don't know how to even, because I really haven't read anything with him. So I guess that's I'm gonna have to take his word for it. Over on the right, I think that is. Not sure. Well, over on the right, up above, in the middle of the page there, you got Shadowman, who I've been reading a good bit of the last few days, and he's pretty awesome. Next to him is, I don't know. On the right, I don't know who that is. On the left, that's Faith. She's a more, you know, recent character. I remember whenever she was announced, because, you know, she's, you know, the going to be the first plus size kind of superhero. and it's not done, you know, in any kind of shitty way. It's not done in any kind of like, you know, stupid way. It's like they just decided we're gonna have a plus size superheroine kind of thing. And there was definitely some chuds online. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about chuds. My bad. Okay, so Ninjak's more like James Bond with ninja training, but he fills the Batman slot in Valiant. I got you. Okay. If you can help me with any of the ones I'm missing, Bob, I appreciate it. So Faith is just kind of like this happy-go-lucky superhero. She can fly. I think she's got maybe some super strength and stuff. You know, and she's got more to love. You know, I'm cool with that. Okay, the right of Shadowman is Livewire. That tracks visually. And who, I feel like I've read something with the chick in the bottom left. I've seen, maybe she was in Bloodshot, but I don't remember anything about her. Sonya Blade, is that Sonya Blade? I'm kidding. But yeah, this is just a few of the characters. This is just a few of the most popular ones. You know, the thing that I would say about Valiant in terms of like what kind of vibe you get from reading Valiant comics is you get superhero vibes, but it's like not as like it feels more like tangible as in some ways than even Marvel, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think any of the characters are like better than some of the, you know, best Marvel characters or anything, but a lot of the characters that I've read are better than some Marvel characters that I don't care for. It doesn't, you know what it is? If I can say this, you guys know I love Marvel. You know, I'm not gonna fucking change that just because I'm sitting here trying to shill for Valiant. That's not changing at all. But I can say that Marvel is and can be pretty goddamn silly. You know, even whenever it's being serious, it can be kind of silly. And I don't get silliness from the Valiant universe. It's all very sincere. It's all very you know, earnest and like, you know, it's not edgelord shit. It's not like trying to take every trope and turn it on its ear just to like, oh, what would happen if we made it like this? It's just another comics universe made of very, you know, some familiar characters as far as like the archetypes and the powers and stuff. But, you know, I wouldn't say there's a single character that I know of anyway that's like, oh, that's just like that character, right? Whereas like Marvel and DC kind of has that. There's not a whole lot of, I mean, there is a pretty big difference, but like Namor and Aquaman, right? There's a lot of overlap there. You know, not necessarily in temperament and personality. I think that's where they kind of differ quite a bit. But like, you know, to say that Shadowman is kind of like Ghost Rider is true in like the most loose sense of their having, like AJ was saying, they each have a evil entity that's bonded to them that they have to kind of like harness for the sake of good. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a struggle. And that's the same essentially. But like, other than that, very different. Shadowman's actually kind of funny. He makes some jokes and shit, which I was surprised. Yeah, it's played straight without the wink and the nod. Yeah, it is a bit more grown. It's true. Like it's, if you're somebody that's, you know, has been into superheroes, Marvel and whatever, and you've gotten older and you're kind of like, man, it's just kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of dorky now. I'm like, I've outgrown that. Valiant would be the thing that you would want to turn to, I think. As well as Massive Verse, from what I've read from that so far. Although Massive Verse definitely kind of has a bit of a, they still got one foot in the goofiness here and there. But yeah, they don't do anything. There's no goofiness in the Valiant universe, man. Like, it's all played really fucking straight. Like, it takes itself seriously, but not too seriously. It's actually kind of neat. I mean, you know, the only reason that I would say that I don't get that from it, at least from what I've read so far, Bob, is that I don't get a sense of the world outside of the characters that we're following. With Marvel, you know, and this has probably everything to do with the fact that I've read a bunch of comics over a bunch of years, and so I've seen comics that take place within, you know, with characters that aren't superheroes involved and stuff like that. But like, you know, and also just Marvel's 616 New York is essentially, you know, from what I understand, I have not been there personally, it's essentially just New York. And so, you know, there's that sense of like, yeah, it's the same thing basically. And so that, I don't know if this makes any sense, but yeah, I really don't. That's maybe is a criticism almost, but that I don't want to say that because I haven't read enough to make a criticism like that, honestly. So no, retract that. I need to read more Valiant and see if I can get a sense of the world that isn't about the superheroes, like around them. What's going on in that world? You know, who's the goddamn president or something? I don't know. It's like NBC versus TGIF. Yeah, though, yeah, there's definitely like Quantum and Woody. I mean, you know, the title should tell you. There's it's pretty silly, but still done earnestly. Nothing is just like, nothing is cynical, that's for sure. I don't think I've read anything that felt cynical about Valiant. Anyway, another thing I'll say about Valiant, and I've said this to AJ actually, is that the art of everything that I've read so far, I have not seen any bad looking comics at Valiant. They get great artists, you know, and they may not be artists that you're familiar with or whatever, but like, and they're maybe not even doing something that's super stylistically, you know, like, oh, that's really cool style or something. It's not really like that, but it is. I'm not going to say serviceable. That's just kind of like almost an insult, but like, it's very solid fucking art, you know? They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And I appreciate that. Yeah. All right. Here we go. I'll be talking about some Valiant and stuff pretty soon. Try and get Morgan in on that too, so we can have some Valiant discussions. But we are going to have to tonight, unfortunately, talk about X-Men 97, fired writer Bo DeMaio. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen, but things have blown up a bit about this topic. It is now messy as fuck already, and I don't see how it's going to get any cleaner as long as certain parties involved continue the path they've seemed to have chosen. It's messy, and not everything is known yet, but like, Morgan's going to come on later. We're going to do a stream, you know, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to, you know, kind of go over the things that have been revealed in the last 24 hours about Bo DeMaio's firing. Yeah, messy. I'm just going to fucking title the stream. Yes. We're going to talk about all that. And I it's really uncomfortable because I don't think that, for one, and I know, no chuds, but this is the last thing I'll say, and we're going to get into it probably more later, but this is going to be good for chuds, sadly, and that sucks. They're going to, you know, I mean, hopefully, maybe they'll sleep on it. Maybe it won't be, maybe it's not enough in the algorithm, like it won't be picked up in the algorithm enough for them to bother with it. That's what I can hope for. But they're going to try, at least. Yep. I'll just say this. A lot of people put a lot of effort, a lot of talent, a lot of time, a lot of love into X-Men 97. A lot of people did. Just, you know, keep that in mind. What time are we doing that, Morgan? Let's say, I don't know, what, 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah, a few hours, whatever. You'll be here. You won't, right, guys? You'll be here because we're going to talk about some chuds too. I got some stuff. I've got, you know what? Yeah, a couple hours. Of course they will, Bob, of the old ways. But you know what? I do need to. I'm sorry, Reggie. If you want to leave the stream right now, you can. You know, I appreciate you being here, man, and your support and everything. I'm about to do something. It's not going to be fun because it's going to be about chuds on the way out the door. So I put this together last night. Whenever I came upon some information that I was like, whoa. So I'm currently editing the video in which I, you know, had fun just talking shit on Callum and Lawrence. And I started looking a little bit deeper into, you know, various nooks and crannies of Reddit and stuff. And I found some stuff from old from Lawrence Rags. It's kind of yikesy, man. It's kind of so yeah. Did you guys know that Rags is a huge piece of shit, man? Like, yeah, of course you knew that, but like, did you realize how utterly massive and shitty of a shit he is? It's pretty fucking massive. So this is a thing I found. This is in a video that I think, as far as I know, the video is like up and public and stuff like that. But like, content warning for, you know, dismissing, you know, lived experiences of African American people in the U.S. We'll say that. But this is who Rags fucking is, okay? And on that note, please hit like and subscribe. I'm gonna let y'all go because I think I'm gonna take a nap before the next stream. I'm tired, pretty tired. Yeah, thanks for being here and supporting AJ. If you want to check out his KIMI Cosmic Kickstarter, which I recommend, if you have the funds to do anything, then please do. I don't think you regret it. You would regret it. Or if nothing else, check out. You can buy his previous books on EarthToneKing.com. Check out some Valiant. And yeah, here's this shit.
Lives Matter is, gosh, what's the most charitable way to describe Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter is a bully organization of frustrated, spoiled millennials and people looking for an anger outlet. It's a borderline terrorist organization that often spews hateful rhetoric and inspires murder on police officers. I have absolutely no love for Black Lives Matter. They are an awful organization. I have no time and no patience for groups of individuals who want to blame all the problems that they think they may or may not be facing on some boogeyman called white supremacy or systematic racism, because they think it's much easier to blame something else for your problems instead of maybe the fact that, well, blacks in this country commit an insanely high amount of crime. That 73% of blacks are born out of wedlock. Blacks only graduate from high school at a rate of 69% nationwide. The fact that 93% of black homicide victims are killed by other blacks. The fact that 40% of cop killers are black, despite black males being 6.6% of the United States population. But I suppose it's much easier to blame systematic racism or the police or white supremacy or just some nebulous boogeyman out there in the distance floating around invisible yet ever present instead of addressing the problems that face your own community.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Snyder cut motherfuckers want to get on a line now? Anybody? I think so.
No cap. What?
Did I call you Logan, Weapon X?
No, Wolverine, snickety, snoring.
What he's doing is imitating Wolverine's berserker attack with his adamantium claws.
I am soaking wet right now. Let's fucking go.
How long I've been waiting for this.